Hello and welcome aboard. This is a little recording because we haven't done one of these in a while with just a status update. Now, as you know, the holiday season's approaching. December's right around the corner. We have a day until that happens. Um, I figured I'd do another announcement video because it's kind of important and because it is affecting content and whatnot. Nothing particularly bad. Just, the usual report stuff. I gotta focus more on work and stuff like that. So I'm gonna take the next couple of days this week off to basically get the reports done and just get that out of the way because work, needs to take a priority there. Mostly because this is the last leg we're on in terms of the contract that we are currently signed up for. So the reason why that matters is because that is where the majority of my income comes from. And so we're going to have to find out. January's contract renewal, so the tensions are high, but we are working and doing our best. So, what's done is done. We're just going to carry out, doing as much work as we can, getting as much shit done as we can, and enjoying what money we have while we have it. Now, I do want to point out that this will be over by January, so it's not like it's going to extend through January. So that's why we'll be going back to the Arch RP that we were collaborating with on the Archcast with the Skaven RP. So that'll be coming back there on January 2nd, which is going to be good. And, no matter what happens, at least this will be over, and so the stress will finally be gone. That's the reason why I didn't want to stream, because honestly, I'm not necessarily unhappy. I'm just not very, what's the word, energetic. I'm feeling rather depleted. Not depressed, not sad, just kind of exhausted, kind of been going overtime and overclocking on everything, and it's finally starting to catch up to me, so I just need to slow it down a bit and, let myself catch up, and we'll keep carrying on. But regardless, we have tons of stuff to go through with news and whatnot, so we might as well do that because it might as well do it as a sort of a news channel. So as far as the channel's concerned, we have, the new emote stuff coming, which is looking pretty slick. Once that's done, I'm going to actually invest more money and resources into, well, assuming, the contract gets renewed, into the Discord channel, basically topping it off. Our Discord community is one of the best around, and we have the best polish, in my opinion. So I'm going to go forth and invest into our community because our community has invested into me, and it's only the right thing to do. It's only the logical thing to do. If your community is willing to invest into you, you invest everything into them as well. So we'll be investing into that, giving people more nice things to play with and mess around with, and basically cleaning up and sort of, making the Discord a little bit neater. It's generally, organization is pretty good, but there's lots of things that could be tweaked and altered in some areas. But yeah, that kind of wraps up the Discord community. The YouTube channel, things aren't going to really change too much. I mean, if things fall apart, don't worry. I've got a plan B. Plan B is we'll go YouTube full time. We can support that for a while, until we can find out a better plan C, because plan B is not very stable. I'm not, as you know, I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of relying on YouTube. Plan B is just a short stopgap. I need to figure out something with money, but that's, again, to make sure the game keeps running, because honestly, I can't really support myself with the content creation and the team. That's just not where we're at. We are incredible in terms of, like, you guys are incredible. We make as more money than, like, channels that have like 250,000, and that's incredible, and that's thanks to you guys and how generous you guys have been. It's actually outlandish. We always get that all the time from our friends and other content creators, like, Jesus Christ, how do you guys do it? And it's simple. You guys invest in us, and we put that back into the game. So the reason why I'm also being clear with this is because in case that doesn't fall through, while I try to find a job or something, to occupy that, I want people to know where the money is going. So I'll be more clear once we get closer, long before the actual contract is terminated, if things don't get re-signed up. And again, this is just contingency plan stuff. I know it sounds a lot of doom and gloom, but it's important that you guys are informed and aware of what's going on, because not everybody wants to support that. And so I want people to know in advance so that they can unsubscribe, or not, well, unsubscribe, but, unsubscribe, star, unmember, because, that's not where all the money will not be able to go into the game's development temporarily. until I can get a new job. And the problem is the job market here is abysmal. And so I'm looking into some new stuff to basically do and where to go from that. But honestly, I'm not too worried. I'll figure it out. I've got pretty good confidence. I'm actually pretty confident they will renew, but I want you guys to know just in case they don't, because you guys have every right to know. But yeah, I'll keep you guys more informed as that once the negotiations come to a close. One other thing I will say is basically they kind of have agreed already that they're going to renew. We just don't have the signed contract. So I'm not. That's why I'm not really particularly concerned right now, unless something really bad happens. But that's why I just wanted to tell you guys that, because I feel like you have every right to be informed. After all, you guys are away. You are a what's the word? Kind of like an employee. Like, you guys pay us to do stuff, so you have every right to know, in my opinion, because this is your money and people want to see this game made, and that's what we're working on. And as long as I can keep the lights on in my apartment, I will spend every nickel and penny I have and invest everything not only I have but everything you guys give us back into the game. And so I thank you all again for all that stuff, and I'll show you guys a couple of little snippets of some art stuff that we're working on right now, just so you can have a little bit of a reward behind the scenes. But yeah, that's kind of it on that. So I'm not particularly concerned right now. I'm actually fairly in high spirits. I am nervous, you're bound to be, because it's not set in stone until the contract's signed and we have it. It's up in the air. But I try to tell myself there's nothing we can do about it, but it still eats at you a little bit. But you can't let that consume you. But by and large, yeah, that kind of wraps up the whole contracty bit thing. And I think that wraps up pretty much everything. Plan B is a relatively short plan. It's basically get a job and then resupplement the stuff and then start diverting money back into there. My only concern is I'd rather not go back to working into the fast food industry. I'd sooner die. But to be perfectly honest with you guys, if I couldn't find a job anywhere else, I will make ends meet no matter what the case. So even if that is something that has to be done, that has to be done for the sake of the game's progression. Regardless, thank you, inflation. It's making money more valueless. Oh, well. That wraps up that note. But yeah, so back on topic, the game's development. There's a couple things to talk about there. So we moved through this pretty quickly, actually. I'm pretty happy. I gotta go back to work soon. So the game's development's coming along very nicely indeed. Programmers are working, Music Man's working, Art Boys are working, lots of new art and whatnot. Not a whole lot to share on that front. We have a new checklist thing. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. The checklist exists basically to fulfill the prototype requirements before we enter closed testing. We decided to make a checklist. Well, we kind of had one already, but we decided to make one. And I might, at one point, we might share that coming after December, depending on how good things are going. That way people can see how close we are to the prototype build. There are some major little bumps to get over, but honestly, we're actually not that far away. It's kind of exciting. So I'm very happy about that. Like, we're close, but we're not, because like the whole thing you have to factor in is like, yes, it may look like we're close, but like all it takes is a couple of bugs. All it takes is for a programmer to get sick. All it takes is for something to go wrong somewhere, and all of a sudden that takes a lot longer. Oh man, I tell you guys, the life of being indies. Oh, it's a mixed bag. But yeah. So things are going good right now, which is great. Let's hope that continues. But yeah. So Video Game is making progress. We're getting closer to that alleged fucking closed prototype when people can get their little fingies on it. I wouldn't call it a demo. I'm gonna still call it a closed prototype, because I want to be, if something goes drastically wrong, which honestly I don't think it will, I want to be ready to make altercations to that prototype before we commit. Once we commit, then we're going forward and we're moving on to the next prototype, which is the free world build. For those who aren't aware about the game, I'll briefly describe it. It's a turn-based tactical role-playing fantasy game, or science fantasy game. Very, very important to make that distinction. set in a made-up world called Terrestria, and so it's a bit of an interesting, big. I only get nervous because my monitor fell asleep. Good, it's still streaming or recording. I got a little paranoid there. I was like, please tell me I don't have to record all that. I will actually just die inside. But yeah, so it's a turn-based tactic game. You move characters around on a little grid, and there's like each character occupies 4 squares, so you can actually move them around a lot more. There's a lot more fluidity to their movement. And then combat takes place in the same world. So I don't know. Maybe I'll pull up some art real quick. I need to explain this because we always get new people, and I kind of feel like they should be explained, especially because we get new donations. Fine, I'll do that last. So, because I don't want to make people listen to that 30,000 times for who've been here forever. So next up, we're talking about walls. Look at that. We're working on walls. I'm not a fan of the holy thing, but this is some concept art that we'll probably do some major tweakage to. Here you can see some of the masonry levels of the civilization for the southern Astrians and their fortification levels. But yeah, those walls are huge. Might need to be downscaled a little. But yeah, this is early concept art. God, that's gargantuan. That is quite the build project. But yeah, so that is really huge. Walls aren't that big. I think they're like half that size, if I remember right historically. That's quite large. Quite large. Either way. But yeah, walls cute. Yeah, no, just doing structural design for the first section of the game, the first test level, which has the northeastern gate, I believe, out of the city of Pyria. Some miniature progress. This is actually not just miniature, this is also video game progress. Here we have some Southern Astrian soldiers, and we're making progress towards the miniature stuff as well. Now, the miniature stuff is actually fairly open, in terms of its development. Unlike the video game, we're going to allow the community to partake a lot more with the game's design and influence a lot more there. Mostly because you guys actually have a lot more knowledge when it comes to tabletop than we do. And honestly, I'm going to default to the experts generally on this stuff. But I do have a clear vision of kind of what I want. I am a game designer. I know how to make games and design games, but I have no experience with actually designing out a tabletop game because video game and tabletop games are very different fundamentally, and you have to take into effect a lot of things because video games can do a lot of calculations under the hood, so you don't have to really worry about bloat in that regard too much because, well, the game's going to handle 90% of it anyways. It's going to handle all the dice rolls, all the calculations, and how armor affects in the different armors. Like in our game, plate armor, what weapons are good against plate, what weapons are good against chainmail, what weapons are good against leather, blunt, piercing, slashing damages, all have different bonuses against different armor types and stuff of that nature. Just like armor types and armor values have different effects on AP costs and whatnot. And that's why mages are so armored, because magic is high AP. Casting and rituals require lots of action points. And that's how we distribute the economy there. And that's how we balance it. Now, in the tabletop, that's going to be a bit different because it's a tabletop war games. And then after the tabletop war game's done, in the future, I do want to do a pen and paper that sort of can be modular and that can build on the system, but one game at a time. So we'll do the tabletop first because we got Miniature Man, Baffio's on the case, and here's some art from Carlos from the soldiery dues, and some concepts. There's still a lot of tweaking to do, but these are really good. Like, I'm starting to like the way they're shaping out. One thing I just want to change is those silly little shingly shoes. I like shingly armor, but I don't like... I don't know. I feel like there's a little too much. Maybe something with the shoulders, but I'll have to talk to Carlos later when I get more time and have more time to process my thoughts, because I just actually started looking through the art. So yeah, that is progress on that. Tabletop progress. Speaking of miniature progress, the Bobette Mini is essentially done. You'll be able to print these, by the way. So miniature distribution will be interesting. How do we plan to do the miniatures and tabletops and distribution? Simply put, I'm not very greedy when it comes to this stuff, and I actually am in favor of the community over money and profits, which is a little retarded, I know. But, yeah, I know. But, honestly, as an underdog, undercat, whatever you prefer, generally speaking, I think it's the best to prioritize the player first. Now, if you know how my personal design team and game development philosophy has always been, is actually team first, then the player, then the company, or something like that, if I remember right. And the reason for that is because if you have a healthy team, you're bound to make great products and great games. So you always put the team priority first. But in this regard, I'm going to use the word player first because, well, it is technically player first. So the idea is that people can print their own minis. We'll be selling the files for both Babette, Aerith, and all the other ones that people want us to. It's up to Arch what he does with his because it is a gift. And when it comes to the tabletop soldiers and whatnot, you will sell the files for like a legionary cohort. We'll try to make them as customizable as possible. We've been talking with Carlos with various poses and various types of like different variations, and we'll talk with the community to basically come up with a good balance so that they are both fun for people to paint and collect and whatnot, and also they can print them out however they want. So yeah, we'll be selling the files. People can do what they want with the files. The only thing I ask is that they do not redistribute. Redistribution of the file would be something I'd have to do. I assume people would be aware of this, but if you buy the file, you own the file, but you only own that file because technically you purchased it. You can't distribute that. You can't print out like a billion models and then redistribute those because, well, that's just weird. Because then all of a sudden it cuts into sales. The idea is that this is going to help our game development. Now, I do have an alternative, a cheaper alternative for people who don't want to pay or just don't have the money. Because, some people just don't. And there should be consideration put into that. We'll be releasing them as well on Tabletop Sim as like a free thing. So people can just play with them and play the actual game on Tabletop Sim as well. And that helps because, it's a relatively niche thing. And I don't know how widespread this is going to be, and because it's so underground, we're so indie, we are the counterculture here. You got to make it as accessible as possible and think outside of the box. And so making it accessible via Tabletop Sim will allow anybody and their grandma to fucking play it and try it and see if they like it. I think there's no harm in doing that, and I think that'll be rather fun. I'd be really cool to see if people would in our Discord server be playing it and trying it out and doing stuff with it, because that would be awesome. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, that's the distribution side of things. So we're not going to actually handle any of the printing. We're going to do some quality testing on our own. I'm going to have Fairman handle quality test prints. Fairman did say he'd be willing to handle some distribution stuff, so you can contact him privately for that if you want that. But I'm not really going to worry about that. But regardless, that's kind of the miniature front. So it's an interesting development. I never thought we'd be making miniatures. It just sort of happened, and I can definitely thank special thanks to Vafios and his team, because they have been extremely helpful in basically making something happen that I never thought would happen. It just sort of started out of the blue. I can't complain. Yeah, so that's that. Tabletop game development progress. Lots of work, very busy. Reports are coming up, and that's why, again, I'm going to take the next couple of days. I mean, I'll keep you guys informed. If I get done early, then I'll be like, hey, I'm streaming. I will be done no shorter than Friday, though. Friday, I will be done. So regardless of how many days it takes, by Friday, I will be done. I've set a hard limit. Personally, my internal limit's actually Thursday, but yeah, so Friday we'll be finished, and then we'll be back to streaming. So we'll be taking a couple days off, and I wanted to make this video because I don't want people to sit around like, is he streaming today? I want you guys to know, just be like, okay, I can go do something else. I don't need to, set aside time to wait for a stream that isn't going to happen, right? But yeah, I'm going to focus on work, get some stuff done. I guess I can show you a little bit more, just because we won't be seeing each other in a little bit. I spoil you guys too much, I know. You know what? Maybe Kibs will hold on to that a little bit. I'll show you two things. How about that? That's more than reasonable. These are now I've already posted the Aerith and Babette ones in the Discord server, so you can see the new 2.0s. But these are going to be the Christ's sake, my eyes aren't working. It was taking me like twice the time to send what the heck? That looks so dumb. I'm gonna show you that. Oh my goodness. Alright, we're pulling them up now. Here is Archoli, which, by the way, the miniature is going to be inspired by this image, or well, not this image specifically. Sala's working on concept for the Archoli, because she is next, and then it's Disco, Hanse, Fairman, and that's kind of it. I'm going to wrap up the Bickering Bunch cast, and by then I hope to have the tabletop well enough laid out that we're going to start basically working on that. Assuming we don't have serious economical shortages with our resources. Because by then, things will change. That cat looks really... Disco's a psychopath, because she's a wayman. And there's a cat. There's a cat. The cat looks very concerned. Either way, chat. Either way. That'll wrap up this little recording stream, whatnot. I need to go back to work and start getting as much work done as possible, and then start reports and get that shit done. So I'll see you guys in a couple of days. You guys take care. I'll still be on the Discord server if you need to poke at me or something happens for some reason. You can shoot a DM my way, and I'll take a look at it when I got time. Either way, have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you guys no shorter than Thursday or Friday. Bye-bye.